Welcome to the newest edition of the Showbox Sires series on the Dairy Voice, introducing our newest release Showbox Sires Bulls. Today, we're excited to introduce what we're calling the next big thing in red and whites, 744HO17932 DAX Red. We're going to talk a lot about his pedigree and why we think he's so unique. And to do that today, we have Mike Duckett, my partner in Showbox Sires, along with us to talk about the bull and the family. And then we have two good friends from Select Sires, Bruce Smith, who is currently product manager and has been a long-term employee of the Select Sires family and has been involved with sales and production and marketing for years. Bruce, we're glad to have you on this podcast. How are you today?
I'm good, Tim. Thanks for having me. I look forward to it.
And then also on our podcast today is Jeff Ziegler, who is Vice President of the genetic programs at Select Sires. Jeff is a long-term veteran of the business. We've worked together, and we've worked as competitors, Jeff, for years and always had a good time. Great to have you on our podcast, Jeff.
Thank you, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's get right into it. I think this bull is the long-awaited first red and white bull that goes back to Doc 8784 that Mike and I and our partners have created. I think the potential for this bull to change the red and white business is tremendous. So, Mike, when we acquired Doc 8784, one of our goals was to try to change as much of the Holstein business as we could, and one of the visions was to create a red and white bull that could really change the red and white breed. We thought what Doc offered to the business, a red and white bull, could be magical. So tell us, it's hard to believe after about 3 years of working on this that we already have the bull that we dreamed of making. Tell us a little about the bull and how he came about.
It's been one of our all-time favorites, a cow that we feel that can change the breed, both black and red. But with Dax, his dam being the highest scored 2-year-old daughter of Doc and a cow that's so easy to market from, being red factored. It's been she was marketable as a heifer, and a lot of people even in Europe have benefited from her already. She's a tremendous young cow. She has all the parts. I can see her going on and aging into a potential show cow. And I feel she's a cow that with the modern facilities today, Tim, when we were out east this summer touring around, there's a lot of people that still want to show cows, but they may milk 3,500 cows. So with finding that balance of cows that can perform in a 3,500 cow dairy and they get on a trailer and go to a show, and I feel that that's exactly what the dam of Dax can do. I feel that that's important for the breeders today.
Well, I think that says it all. And when you walk into Duckett Holsteins and you see her standing on the end of the 2-year-old row, she really catches your attention. And Mike, here on my desk, I've got a front end picture of 1133, the dam of Dax, and Doc 8784. And boy, aren't they cut from the same cloth?
Yeah, and her being in our first stalls, she's there for a reason, because when you walk through our door, she's the first cow you see. There's a lot of resemblance of her and Doc, the red and red factored part, icing on the cake.
And she did max score as a 2-year-old at 89. She will not be with our group at Madison because she's been fresh quite a while and is getting a little stale, right, Mike? But boy, next year, I think one more calf, she could be there. Mike, thanks for introducing us to the dam of Dax. I'm going to turn to Jeff Ziegler. Jeff, lots of big news out of Select Sires the past week or so, and the bull Doc, which is critical in this bull's pedigree, hit a milestone. Can you tell us a little about some of that news, Jeff?
The big news, Tim, I thought you meant you and Mike paid us a visit. We were great to host you here. I'm glad you came to Ohio. Yeah, King Doc, as we refer to him many times, did hit a milestone. He's our new millionaire unit sire who sold over 1 million doses of semen on Doc in his career. He's the 14th bull at Select Sires history to do so. We've had a lot of bulls come through these doors, but not many have reached that milestone. And in today's world, that everyone thinks about young bulls and genomics, it's a tremendous milestone to hit. Not many bulls in the future probably will do so, but when you have a bull like he is yet today, we still have some semen left, with production and type combined in one that fits dairymen's demands, both in the commercial operation and on the colored shavings we'll see here next week. Those are fun bulls to have, and they stick around for a long time.
Well, Jeff, you mentioned the milestone, and I think many of us thought there wouldn't be any more million unit bulls because of the way the industry has gone. And I don't think you can overstate how important, how big that is, because there won't be many going forward because of the way we do things. What is it about King Doc that you think really set him apart, that let him be in demand that much globally?
Sure. And I think, Tim, what it gets down to is they perform in varied environments. They didn't need a special stall. They didn't need a special feed, special care. They tend to do it themselves. Vividly remember visiting with Mike when Doc 8784 calved in, and how he said how easy she transitioned into being a cow and how much she took care of herself. And that seems to be a family trait that we hope continues on through progeny, grand progeny, great grand progeny as time goes on.
Well, I'm going to switch to Mike just for a second because, Mike, one thing that you like to tell our listeners about Doc's early career, tell us where Doc came from and how she spent her early days as a milk cow.
So her first 2 years, she was running at our other farm at Genetic Futures, living in the 2,500 head freestall barns. And, she got moved to Duckett Holsteins, and that's when she started getting a little more pampered life. A cow that, I think those are the cool cows that can go from any situation and perform at a high level. And that's very important to us. We're a show oriented program, but like I said earlier, there's a lot of 3,500 cow dairies that have kids or grandkids and stuff that want to show a cow. Well, we've got to make them cows that they can take to the show, do well, take them home, and they do well. And I think that's very important.
Jeff, you'll enjoy how Mike, when Sharon and I were thinking about buying into Doc 8784, about every morning Mike would send Sharon pictures of Doc eating her feed and having her head buried to her ears in her feed bunk, and that's the kind of cow she is, and that's why she was such a great cow. So Mike knew what he was doing because he talked Sharon into loving Doc before we even owned her. But that's the kind of cow. That's what you're saying, Jeff, right?
She did. She took care of herself, and it's amazing the amount of good days versus bad days she had in her lifetime. And it was fun to visit with Mike because you're right, Tim. He'd have a glowing report about Doc 8784 every time I talked to him, and every time he walked in the barn, you could see why.
So, Jeff, she has the SSI prefix. Tell us and our listeners a little bit about how that comes about. I'm not sure everybody would understand that.
Well, Tim, it's one of those stories that you use a lot of common sense, some science, and have a little luck. And when it combines all into one, you get to celebrate. And I'll put Doc 8784 in that category. Her mother was a flush cow that we were having success with and used a variety of sires. And we thought, well, let's throw a combination of type with it as well. So in visiting with Mike and his colleagues at Duckett Holsteins, Westville Massick, I got to mention his name being one, thought, well, why not? And let's throw a little extra type at the old Jedi and see what we can do. And a couple of females resulted from that. That turned into some outstanding individuals, this and her full sister. It was another way for us to expand our portfolio, utilize some great production lines and some great breeding establishments on the bottom side of the pedigree.
Well, and Jeff, for years and years, there have been AI companies breed females, right, through mowat herds and different programs. But I don't think you could ever say an AI program developed a better individual cow, and maybe a better pair of sisters than 8783 and 8784. I don't think that's an overstatement.
And the other thing that I'll add to it is that Mike and Julie and you, Tim, look a whole lot better in white pants than Bruce or I. So we're glad she was at Duckett Hostings to start her career.
Well, Bruce, you've patiently waited. Welcome, Bruce Smith. I know you're a big fan of our podcast, and so now you get to listen to yourself on this. Bruce, you do this every day. You have millions of units of semen cross your desk to go out around the world. Why do you think this bull can be so popular, Bruce?
Well, I think you start with the red as Mike mentioned, you start with a red bull that's out of this kind of a pedigree, out of that cow, 8784, already just 2 generations later. I think that immediately will pique some interest. And then when you get, again, a consistency of Doc 8784 is that, and Doc himself, is that milk production. And you got a high milk red bull here with really good type and really good health traits, particularly somatic cell score. But when you've got type and health traits and red and a popular pedigree and family, I mean, what else could people look for? So I think the demand for this kind of a bull across the globe is going to be phenomenal. Already getting a lot of interest and a lot of questions from people as we're preparing to release this bull very soon. But the interest is there because they know who he is, what he's from, and what his pedigree has led to in the past, and we only expect better things in the future.
Oh, great comments, Bruce. And like I say, you see what gets popular in the world real fast. You know, this bull, he is making semen, and we're hoping to release him soon after Expo. I'm guessing that we're not overstating it, that he'll have a little trouble keeping up with production, with demand, I was going to say. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, unfortunately, that's my expectation as we go into this. We do want to get the usage out there and quickly and early. Tim and Mike really love it when we do that, but it also probably will create some challenges because I do expect the demand to be high, but supply demand will be there. We'll keep making it. He's on a solid production path right now, so we'll do the best a young bull can do. And he's just a young bull, and we need to remember that, but we'll make it and spread it out in the world as fast as we can.
I think really valuable comments, Bruce, because our customers and our listeners to this need to understand. I mean, we could hold him until he has enough semen to keep up with demand, but we Select Sires and Showbox Sires made the choice that the best way to get this bull out there is to start using him as a mating sire in an IVF programs and get daughters on the ground. So we appreciate what your team is doing to maximize production out of this bull. Bruce, before we leave you, any particular traits that you think are going to be very, very popular from DAX before we move on?
Well, I touched on the milk, and when you're over 600 pounds of milk, I think any type of pedigree that has that kind of milk today after the base change earlier is a very solid milk bull. And again, coming from his pedigree, that's what it should be. But then in the market that I would expect him to go into, both from the showbox type of market, the red type of market, and when you look at his health traits, he's just a really good bull. Kind of across the board from a health trait standpoint, what sticks out to me is somatic cell score, positive fertility index, that sort of thing. I don't know. He's an outlier in the market that he will be competing in, is my expectation.
Jeff, I'm going to give you the daunting task of following Bruce's good comments there, but tell us why you think this bull will be so popular around the world.
He's made semen so Bruce can get him out there because my phone and email's been blowing up for 6 months wondering when this bull's available. We've learned through the years, if you get the right red bull, the interest globally is astronomical. I mean, Advent taught us that, Jordan taught us that, Rage of Red, and here recently Romp'em. All great red bulls, and I think Dax is well on the path of similar success because if you just say a red Doc, usually you don't have to say a whole lot more. And I remember when Mike told me years ago, hey, I think we might make something red out of this cow yet. And I thought he was absolutely crazy. He proved me wrong. He's done that before. And he's got a pretty special bull here that the whole globe's been asking for because when you have production and type combined and red, just as Bruce said, and actually the other traits are pretty darn special too. His use and his opportunity for use is pretty widespread.
I agree. If you take some of his critical traits like his milk and his type and his udder composite and his somatic cell and his fertility, and you sort bulls in the red with red hair coat with some of the levels that he's at, there's not another bull in the industry that looks like him. And that, Mike, leads us to our discussion with you. Why we're so excited about this bull is because about every red cow in the world can be bred to him because of the outcross nature of his pedigree and how they're made and how they're bred. How would you suggest to our customers to use the bull, Mike?
You're right, Tim. He is a really easy bull to use because of Heat Wave, Doc. There's not a lot of Doc blood in the red business. And with him being moderate statured, extremely low cell count and his fertility and the milk, he can be used on bulls like Warrior, all these warriors that are winning all over the shows, and the Unstoppables, the Altitude blood. But I wouldn't be afraid. And it's the one thing that everyone asks us, Tim, is what do you use on all the Lambda blood? Throw all the red stuff away and use him on Lambda blood, because he works on them too. He adds enough milk to use on the sidekicks, and we just calved in a sidekick from Doc, and it seems like that's going to be a good blood to have in there. I think he can go black, red across the board. He's a bull that doesn't really hurt you anywhere. One trait that some people are livability, and he's plus on livability. He's cell counts, his fertility. I think he's a bull that can get a lot of use, and the red hair is just a bonus to make him even easier to use.
I think that really woke me up, Mike, and Bruce and Jeff would be curious what you think quickly with this too. But we're all talking about how do we breed our lambdas, and how do we breed the sidekicks, and what do you do? Think about all the opportunities and different branches of the H families. Like, even though Hulu is an H, this bull is classically made for Hulu because they're different. Sure, they all go back to the same branch of the Dellas, but think about that. Jeff, any comments before we wrap up on that?
All great cow families start with a foundation, and she was and has been, and it's fun to see still alive and well through DAX Red. So it's going to be a fun ride. We hope Bruce can get enough semen for everybody, and we're going to turn the population with more red hair than we've seen before.
And Bruce, any final thoughts from you before we wrap up?
Yeah, Mike just reminded me of kind of a story from my old sales days when I was in that role. One of the most popular red bulls that I ever sold was Rager Red, who Jeff referenced earlier, but he was a crossover bull. A lot of people chose him because of what he was, not because of what color he was, and used him on all cows, black and white or red and white. And so Mike pointing that out, I think that's a pretty valuable aspect to keep in mind with DAX Red is he's got a lot of positive traits here, so just use him. It doesn't have to be for red.
Boy, we saw Rager Red the other day when we were at Select Sires, and what a treat. Is that a beautiful, beautiful bull? And again, a bull that sold thousands and thousands of units of semen, and maybe some milestones ahead of him too, guys, if things keep going well, right? Well, I appreciate Mike Duckett, Jeff Ziegler, and Bruce Smith being involved in this podcast. I think it's been great information. Our listeners like to hear the nuts and bolts behind our bulls, and I think this is the perfect way to do that. So thank you, gentlemen, for being on. We're very excited about the next big thing in red and whites, 744HO17932 DAX Red. He'll be available soon after World Dairy Expo through your Select Sires or Worldwide Sires distributor. There'll be information up on the bull on our website at showboxsires.com. So we invite you to get in early on this exciting new bull. Thank you for listening.